It looks like we got Covington. Covington did a good job of having smack on both sides, getting his name out there through this weekend. He was there heckling Usman at Usman's media day workout. He was there in the crowd with his MAGA hat and his interim belt on. And we talked last time about on the last pay-per-view about Kelvin Gastelum doing something similar. And that's smart on these fighters to keep their name relevant even when they're not fighting, when they're in the title hunt. And so it looks like we're going to have Covington and Usman next. What do you think about that, Miguel?
Well, I mean, the bottom line is they announced it almost before the close of the show. They was starting to come over the net late after the show that Usman and Covington was going to be the next fight. Now, this is where I talk about where you can take the circus and you can put the circus in there, and that's cool, and the UFC's always done that, right? So that's why Jon Jones and Brock Lesnar should be acceptable. Because the bottom line is before the start of the fight, they were talking about Woodley and St Pierre, the greatest of all time. What, this guy doesn't get a rematch? He asked for it. You know what I mean? It's just what the sport would do is you give it, if a rematch is worthy, you give the rematch. But here they'll pursue the money in the half fight. We'll get a better fight out of it. I don't know that Woodley fought in such a way. You can almost argue Woodley fought himself out of his rematch. And I worry a little bit about him in terms of he's a guy who sometimes has been inactive, not only because of injuries and because of everyday things, but also because of sometimes bumping heads with Dana and things like that. And you combine that with a team like American Top Team and then Rufus Sport, because Dean Thomas was in his corner along with Duke. That's two teams where, does this guy take days off? Is he overtrained and then ring rusty? Is there a combination of things where you just, that all tightened him up? I don't know what happened. He didn't know what happened. So, but that could be one explanation, because overtraining is something, look at his physique and everything like that. He really looks like somebody who looked prepared to fight. If anything, too, another argument might be he might be a little muscle-bound for this sport. I'd like guys maybe to be a little looser at this point, especially now that he's aging. Now, when you get older, sometimes if you're losing limber, ability to move and flexibility for muscle, maybe you wind up with a lactose dump in your muscles or whatever, and you can't get off. So I thought it was an interesting thing, and I think Woodley goes back to the pack. It's not what he wants to hear, but it's already been decided.